All right, Jack, welcome back to part 6. I'm going to read this next part and we're going to talk about that a little bit and then we'll go from there. You said in this part, I wonder so much about ending the relationship by exiting. Like, then I can be free. Off her treadmill, my time is mine. I could build a great cake of a life outside of a woman. Then later, I can entertain creating a relationship with a new lover friend, which is how Amy and I, of course, started. And she could be the icing on the cake. And in parentheses, you said the cake analogy is a Dr. Glover thing, who wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy. Or not. I don't fall for the myth of Bly, and that's Robert Bly, who wrote Iron John. I don't fall for the myth of Bly's golden-haired woman, but I do seek freedom. I really love your mention of freedom here. I would say freedom is at the heart of everything men do. I agree with David Dita, who wrote Way to Superior Man, in that we are ultimately about men always wanting freedom. And I applaud and honor your desire for freedom that way. And I'm with you, man. I want freedom too. It's my life's pursuit. That's why we call ourselves, as the guides in mentoring men, freedom fighters, right? We are fighting for freedom for ourselves and in the hearts of other men. And so, having said that, I want you to understand another hard truth, okay? And it's going to sting a little bit. If you can't be free in your relationship with Amy, you can't be free outside of your relationship with Amy. Because if that's true, Jack does not own his freedom. Jack doesn't secure his freedom. Jack has nothing to do with his freedom. Amy does. She's the owner, arbitrator, and one in control and has the power of freedom. And so I think that's something you need to give some serious attention to, is to understand that nobody outside of you is the creator of freedom. Freedom is actually a really interesting and fairly simple dynamic, okay? Freedom exists really everywhere we are willing to live with clarity and love. And in a man's life, there's this pattern when you live that you run into the edge of what feels known and comfortable and really it's the edge of love. It's the edge of where you see things with acceptance and clarity and you're seeing like, hey, I don't know what's on the other side of that and it scares me. Okay, so I want you to think about an edge as being a fence where you're like, I'm totally cool with everything on this side of that fence, and on the other side of that fence is the great unknown and it's fearful. But I also want to make my dominion bigger, so I want to push that fence out. I want what's on the other side of that fence. And so, which would be freedom. It would be more space, right? And so men have this natural desire to keep expanding outward into more space, but we keep running into our edge, our limit. And that edge and limit that we're running into is where the known and comfortable and unknown and fearful meet. And so freedom is found when we courageously push through that fear. We don't wait for the fear to go away. It never does. We push through it with courage. We find courage. Now, how do you find courage? You look inward and you discover more of yourself. And to discover more of yourself and approve more of yourself, you have to give yourself more love. And so love has to expand within your heart in order to have more courage. And in that whole process, you're expanding as a man. You're growing. And you're entering more freedom. That's how freedom comes to men. It never comes by somebody's permission or by an action or a change in someone else. That's a complete delusion. And it's a delusion most of humanity lives in, that I can be free when you give me freedom. Bullshit. Your freedom does not come from people. It comes from a change in your insides where you replace fear with love. Every time you drive a little bit of the darkness of fear out of your insides and you replace it with acceptance and love and high regard, you have earned more freedom. And that will be reflected in your outsides. And because you're not a free man right now, because in your mind, Amy controls that freedom, if you exit your relationship in that state, you'll immediately look for someone else to own and control your freedom. when I say immediately, I just mean like it will not be long. You'll say, "Whoa, I don't know how to control this freedom thing. This feels a little shaky," and you'll be on the lookout for a new idol, a new person who can manage your freedom for you, and you'll fall in love, and you'll be head over heels with this person, and you'll get on their treadmill, and you'll hand them your freedom, and you'll feel like this again. And that is a sobering reality, but it's a pattern you could see man after man after man after man. If your freedom is associated with your relationship with an outsider, you do not own your freedom, they do. And I don't think you want that for yourself, right? I think what you want is something much deeper and satisfying. And here too, again, when you explore freedom as an internal thing with yourself, you're going to get what you really want, which is legitimate freedom. You're going to discover more of the heart of Jack. You're going to say, wow, I didn't know that was in there. There's some really cool stuff in there. You're going to appreciate yourself more. You're going to have more confidence and trust in who you are, because you will have shined all this light around within yourself saying, I like what's in here. It's not garbage. It's not dirty, nasty stuff. This dude is trustable. This dude is deserving of value and worthiness and love and appreciation and kindness and respect. And so I'm going to start giving it to him. I'm going to start filling myself with that stuff, right? And that's going to push out your realm a little bit bigger, and you're going to have a bigger domain, and you're going to have more freedom. That's how freedom comes. It's that internal state, right? And so right now, you're not living with freedom because of dependency. You have all these dependencies on Amy for life that you want. For, you mentioned it a couple of times, like the affection, appreciation. You want attention from her. You want a sense of value. You want a sense of respect. Really, all things that you're not giving yourself in full measure, you're going to want from her. And the dependency erodes freedom, because when you have that dependency, you're saying, well, I need that for my domain. When you're going to give it to me? And then you're walking around not with love in your heart, but with judgment, animosity, jealousy, wrath, envy, rage, contempt, bitterness, anger, right? That's how men like you end up living, because they're furious that the person who is supposed to be giving them all this stuff, their idol, is not doing that. And so if you want freedom, let go of your dependency. That is the path to freedom. Every man that has let go of his dependency and is pressed into a life of releasing judgment on himself and other people, and standing up self-reliance where he's had dependency, will report they feel free. They feel full, because that's how you get there. Now, I would also say, if you can build a great life outside of a woman, well then do it. Why are you not doing that now? You said you could do it, but I'm not trying to poke you here, but you can. You're not doing it. You're not doing it in a relationship with her. Like, what is she doing to prevent you from building a great life? If you're the builder, build. If you're not able to build a great life, you're not the builder. You're the recipient, and she's the builder. That is why you're suffering. You're not the builder of your great life. And it's not because you're married to a woman. It's because you won't take on the role of being a builder. Why? Is it because of some character defect? Not at all. It's because the space that you have, the freedom in your heart, is kind of small. You don't know yourself to be capable of being that man. You don't trust him. You've probably judged him harshly starting as a kid. And you've said, this guy's not enough. He can't do it. So he needs help. He needs a woman to help, or buddies, or parents, or colleagues, or professors. He's got to be approved. We got to build him up so that he knows he can do it. But that just makes other people co-responsible for you, and that's not a path to freedom and happiness. And so the reason you're not building your life are those, and you're not going to be any more likely to build it if you leave a relationship than if you stay in the relationship. So that kind of is a great segue into kind of my final point and remarks, which is this. Learn to be a guy that builds a great life in any circumstance. And I just think in saying that, like Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning, the dude found a way to flourish on his insides in a Nazi concentration camp. I know my marriage was bad. I know yours is bad. I would like to think, though, Jack, that neither of them were as bad as Nazi concentration camps. And yet, Frankl understood his power to own the narrative within himself and to not live in any story of victimization and disempowerment. And he started choosing his meaning. He started choosing how he would engage his surroundings in his life, and he found a way to flourish. And what he found are those same qualities we're talking about. And so I would encourage you, learn to do that before you make decisions about changing your externals. Because your externals, we know this from copious experience with men, they're not the source of your suffering. It's your relationship to your insides and your thoughts and feelings and thinking about what's happening around you that is the cause of your suffering. And so if you will take the opportunity to learn to be a free man, to learn to be a builder in the circumstance where you are, learn to be that guy. I promise you can do it. Every man has this capacity if he will dare to take the journey to do it. If you'll do that, then when you're to the place where you're looking around and you say to yourself, I am a free man. I'm not looking to be one. I am a free man. I am a builder. I know this about me. I trust this about me. I like who I am. I appreciate who I am. I respect me. I trust me. I love me. When you can fill your moment with that way of being, and it looks like you need to let Amy go, well then by all means, let her go. And it won't be because she's holding you back or something like that, or she's not giving you something. It'll be because the clearest, most profound expression of who you are is just heading in a direction that can't include her for some reason. And so there's no harshness, there's no animosity. It's not based on she won't give me. It's based on the kind of freedom I'm creating and the way I'm creating it and who I love to be and what I'm building. I don't see a role for her in that. Now, I have to tell you, just honestly, when a man is that kind of guy and he's created all that stuff, he usually likes who his partner is, because partners respond to a man who's living like that. I can't guarantee that. I'm not saying always, as the people accuse us of that. I'm just saying, become that guy first. Then look around at your life as it is in that day and say to yourself, do I like it? Do I like who Amy is? Do I like the way I'm showing up in my life? Do I like the way my relationship is going? And make the decision you need to make then. But to make a decision today when you're not a free man and not a builder, I would tell you, brother to brother, you're throwing some of your best teachers and instructors away, but also unnecessarily launching torpedoes into your ship when the ship isn't the problem. It's just about the competency to captain that ship very well. And so you mentioned RMM in there, and I know you mentioned taking it in the fall, and I would just encourage you, look, is this urgent that you make a decision? And if it's not, take the 6 months to go through there, learn these ins and outs deeply, learn to be that free man, learn to be a builder, learn to move all your external locus of controls to internal locus of control stories, learn to own yourself, learn self-reliance, and have that journey, and then see where you're at. And if it looks like ending your marriage is the way to go, hey, by all means, do it. But you'll be doing it from a place of love and freedom, and as a man who lives as the hero in his own story, instead of the man who is victimized, disempowered, and waiting for someone to come and rescue him. And so if you'll accept my admonishment on that and take a few months to grow that way, I think you'll be happy with where you end up. Now, if you're not Jack and you're watching this video and you're saying, man, Jack seems a lot like me, his marriage seems a lot like mine, and anything that stood out to you and you want to talk about that, I would invite you just to click the links you see in these videos and set up a session with me. We could talk about what's going on in your life. We can have conversations like I've had with Jack, and you can join our community where we dialogue with men like Jack like this in personal and meaningful ways. And all those links will be below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this in the Mentoring Men community and you've never spoken to myself or one of the other mentors, we would certainly welcome that you set up a call and let us help you be a man that knows how to build, knows how to be free, knows how to create, and knows how to live the life he wants, and then go from there. All right. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you another time. Take care.